What if I told you that in the heart of Africa lies a country so breathtakingly diverse, so impossibly beautiful, that it contains snow-capped mountains just 50 kilometers from steaming tropical rainforests, where 1,000-pound mountain gorillas share their ancient kingdom with over 1,000 species of birds, and where the source of the world's longest river emerges from a lake so vast it's visible from space? Uganda, Winston Churchill's Pearl of Africa, isn't just another safari destination. This is a land where nature has compressed the entire continent's wonders into a space smaller than the United Kingdom, creating landscapes so dramatic they seem designed by the gods themselves. From mist-shrouded volcanic peaks that pierce the clouds at 5,109 meters to underground rivers that have carved cathedral-sized chambers through solid rock, from ancient forests where our closest living relatives swing through canopies unchanged for millions of years to lakes so deep they hold secrets older than human civilization. Today, we're embarking on an extraordinary journey through Uganda's most spectacular and hidden wonders. Places where adventure meets raw wilderness, where every sunrise reveals landscapes that will redefine your understanding of what Africa truly offers. Prepare to discover why Uganda might just be the most underrated travel destination on Earth, and why those who venture here never speak of it without their eyes lighting up with wonder. Straddling the equator in East Africa, Uganda sits at the crossroads of the continent's most dramatic geological forces, where the Great Rift Valley tears the Earth apart and ancient volcanic activity has sculpted landscapes of impossible beauty. This landlocked nation, covering 241,038 square kilometers, roughly the size of the United Kingdom, contains more biodiversity per square kilometer than almost anywhere else on Earth. Uganda's story begins over 500 million years ago, when massive tectonic forces began shaping the landscape we see today. The Western Rift Valley, one of the most geologically active regions on the planet, carved through the country's heart, creating a chain of lakes, mountains, and valleys that would become home to some of Africa's most extraordinary wildlife. The Rwenzori Mountains, known to ancient geographers as the Mountains of the Moon, thrust skyward to heights that seemed impossible in equatorial Africa, their peaks crowned with glaciers that have existed for over 10,000 years. But Uganda's true magic lies in its incredible compression of ecosystems. Within a single day's drive, you can journey from snow-capped alpine peaks, through bamboo forests and montane woodlands, down into steaming tropical rainforests, across vast savannas teeming with wildlife, and along the shores of lakes so large they create their own weather systems. This extraordinary diversity exists because Uganda sits at the meeting point of East Africa's savannas, Central Africa's rainforests, and the unique montane ecosystems of the Great Rift Valley. The country is home to over 1,000 bird species, more than the entire North American continent, and harbors half of the world's remaining mountain gorillas in forests that have remained virtually unchanged for millions of years. The source of the Nile, humanity's most legendary river, begins its 6,650-kilometer journey to the Mediterranean from the shores of Lake Victoria, Africa's largest lake and the world's second-largest freshwater body. This is Uganda as few have ever seen it. Not just a destination, but a living laboratory of evolution, a showcase of nature's most ambitious experiments, and a reminder that our planet still holds wonders that can leave even the most traveled adventurers speechless with awe. Rising from the equatorial heat like a mirage made real, The Rwenzori Mountains, the legendary Mountains of the Moon. Present one of Earth's most extraordinary geographical anomalies. These peaks, soaring to 5,109 meters at Margarita Peak on Mount Stanley, support permanent glaciers and snowfields just 40 kilometers from the equator, creating an alpine wonderland that seems to belong on another planet entirely. The Rwenzori Range stretches for 120 kilometers along Uganda's border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. But it's not their length that astounds, it's their sheer impossibility. Imagine standing in tropical heat at 1,000 meters elevation, looking up at snow-capped peaks that rise nearly 4,000 meters above you in a distance of just 15 kilometers. The temperature drops by approximately 6.5 degrees Celsius for every 1,000 meters of elevation, meaning you can experience a 30 degrees Celsius temperature difference in a single day's climb. The mountains harbor 6 distinct vegetation zones, each more surreal than the last. The montane forest zone, between 1,000 and 2,500 meters, contains trees draped in moss so thick they look like something from a fairy tale giant lobelias. Some reaching 8 meters tall, dot the landscape like alien sculptures, while the bizarre giant groundsels create forests of what appear to be massive cabbages on stilts. These plants, found nowhere else on Earth, have evolved over millions of years to survive the extreme daily temperature fluctuations of high-altitude equatorial environments. The Rwenzori glaciers, though rapidly retreating due to climate change, still cover approximately 1.5 square kilometers across the highest peaks. These ice fields have existed for over 10,000 years, serving as a frozen archive of ancient climate conditions. The largest glacier, the Elena Glacier on Mount Stanley, feeds rivers that eventually flow into both the Nile and Congo river systems, making the Rwenzori one of the few places on Earth where waters from a single mountain range flow to different oceans. Recent scientific expeditions have revealed that the Rwenzori ecosystem harbors over 70 endemic plant species and numerous endemic animals, including the Rwenzori otter shrew and several species of chameleons found nowhere else on Earth. The mountain's isolation has created evolutionary laboratories where species have developed in complete isolation for millions of years. The climbing experience in the Rwenzori is unlike anywhere else on Earth. Trekkers pass through landscapes that change so dramatically they seem to be traveling between different planets. One day you're hiking through tropical rainforest where the humidity approaches 100%, and the next you're navigating across glacial ice fields where the air is so thin that every breath requires conscious effort. The final approach to Margarita Peak involves technical rock and ice climbing at altitudes where oxygen levels are 40% lower than at sea level. But perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of the Rwenzori is their role as a water tower for East Africa. These mountains capture moisture from the Indian Ocean and Congo Basin, creating their own weather systems and generating rainfall that feeds the headwaters of the Nile. The complex hydrology of the range supports over 200 lakes and countless streams, creating a network of waterways that sustain ecosystems hundreds of kilometers away. Deep in southwestern Uganda, where mist clings to ancient trees like the breath of sleeping giants, lies Bwindi Impenetrable Forest, a 331 square kilometer remnant of the vast forests that once covered much of East Africa. This UNESCO World Heritage Site isn't just a forest. It's a living time capsule that has remained virtually unchanged for over 25,000 years, harboring secrets that predate human civilization. Bwindi is home to approximately half of the world's remaining mountain gorillas. roughly 400 individuals of the 1,000 that still exist on Earth. These magnificent creatures, sharing 98.3% of their DNA with humans, live in family groups led by massive silverback males that can weigh up to 220 kilograms and possess the strength of 10 adult humans. Standing face to face with a silverback gorilla, looking into eyes that reflect an intelligence both alien and familiar, represents one of the most profound wildlife encounters possible on our planet. The forest itself defies easy description. Trees tower 60 meters overhead, their canopies so dense that the forest floor exists in perpetual twilight. Over 400 plant species create a vertical ecosystem where different worlds exist at different heights. The forest floor, carpeted with decomposing leaves that have accumulated for millennia, supports a complex web of life including forest elephants, whose pathways through the dense vegetation have been used by gorillas and humans for thousands of years. Bwindi harbors an extraordinary diversity of life that scientists are still cataloging. The forest contains 120 mammal species, including 11 primates. From tiny galagos, with eyes like saucers, to chimpanzees, whose calls echo through the canopy at dawn. Over 350 bird species inhabit the forest, including 23 endemic to the Albertine Rift. The African green broadbill, one of Africa's most elusive birds, was rediscovered in Bwindi after being thought extinct for decades. The gorilla tracking experience in Bwindi is both physically demanding and emotionally overwhelming. Trekkers must navigate steep, muddy slopes covered in dense vegetation, following trails that exist only in the minds of experienced guides. The forest is so thick that visibility rarely exceeds 10 meters, and the terrain is so challenging that a 1-kilometer hike can take over an hour. But when you finally encounter a gorilla family, the world stops. Watching a mother gorilla tenderly grooming her infant, or observing juveniles playing in ways that mirror human children, creates connections that transcend species boundaries. The silverback's presence is both intimidating and reassuring. These gentle giants, despite their incredible strength, are remarkably tolerant of human visitors, often continuing their daily activities as if the humans were simply another part of their forest world. Recent research has revealed that Bwindi's gorillas display cultural behaviors passed down through generations. Different gorilla families have distinct feeding preferences, social customs, and even dialects in their vocalizations. Some groups have learned to use tools, while others have developed unique problem-solving techniques for accessing food sources. These discoveries suggest that gorilla society is far more complex than previously understood. The conservation success story of Bwindi's gorillas represents one of wildlife protection's greatest achievements. From fewer than 300 individuals in the 1990s, the population has grown to over 400 today, thanks to intensive protection efforts and community-based conservation programs that have transformed former poachers into passionate protectors of their forest heritage. At Murchison Falls, the world's longest river performs its most dramatic act, compressing from a width of 1,000 meters to just 7 meters before exploding through a gap in solid rock with a force that shakes the ground for kilometers around. This isn't just a waterfall. It's a geological phenomenon that demonstrates the raw power of water to reshape the Earth itself. The Nile's journey to this point has been relatively gentle, flowing peacefully through Lake Victoria and meandering across the Ugandan landscape. But at Murchison Falls, the river encounters a barrier of ancient rock that has resisted erosion for millions of years. Forced through this narrow gap, the entire volume of the Nile, approximately 300 cubic meters of water per second, accelerates to incredible speeds before plunging 43 meters into the churning pool below. The sound is overwhelming. Standing on the viewing platform just meters from where the water explodes through the rock, the roar is so intense it drowns out all other sound and creates vibrations you feel in your chest. The mist generated by the falling water creates permanent rainbows that dance in the spray, while the force of the impact has carved a pool so deep that its bottom has never been measured. But Murchison Falls National Park, Uganda's largest protected area at 3,840 square kilometers, offers far more than just its spectacular namesake waterfall. The park encompasses a complete ecosystem where the Nile serves as the lifeline for one of Africa's most diverse wildlife populations. Over 76 mammal species and 451 bird species call this park home, creating wildlife viewing opportunities that rival anywhere in Africa. The Nile itself, both above and below the falls, teems with life. Massive Nile crocodiles, some exceeding 6 meters in length, bask on sandbanks while hippos create traffic jams in the river channels. These hippos, weighing up to 3,000 kilograms each, are among Africa's most dangerous animals, responsible for more human deaths than any other large mammal. Yet watching them in their natural habitat, seeing mothers tenderly caring for their calves, or witnessing the complex social dynamics of hippopods reveals a gentler side to these formidable creatures. The park's savanna landscapes support massive herds of elephants, some groups numbering over 100 individuals. These elephants have learned to use the Nile as a highway, following its banks during seasonal migrations and gathering at specific crossing points that have been used for thousands of years. The sight of an entire elephant herd crossing the Nile, with mothers helping calves navigate the current while massive bulls stand guard, represents one of Africa's most spectacular wildlife experiences. Murchison Falls also serves as a crucial stopover for migratory birds traveling between Europe and southern Africa. During peak migration periods, the skies above the Nile can be filled with thousands of birds, from tiny bee-eaters to massive marabou storks with wingspans exceeding 3 meters. The rare shoebill stork, one of Africa's most prehistoric-looking birds, can sometimes be spotted in the papyrus swamps along the river's edge. Recent geological studies have revealed that Murchison Falls is slowly moving upstream as the water continues to erode the rock barrier. Over thousands of years, the falls have carved their way several kilometers upstream, leaving behind a narrow gorge that tells the story of the Nile's relentless power to reshape the landscape. Spanning 1,978 square kilometers in southwestern Uganda, Queen Elizabeth National Park represents one of Africa's most biodiverse protected areas, where multiple ecosystems converge to create landscapes and wildlife viewing opportunities found nowhere else on the continent. This park doesn't just contain different habitats, it showcases the dramatic transitions between them, creating a living laboratory of ecological diversity. The park's most famous residents are its tree-climbing lions, a behavior so rare that it's only regularly observed in 2 places on Earth, here and in Tanzania's Lake Manyara. These lions, primarily found in the Ssese sector, have adapted to spending much of their day lounging in the branches of massive fig trees, sometimes 6 meters above the ground. Scientists believe this behavior developed as a response to biting insects on the ground and to take advantage of cooling breezes in the canopy. Watching a 180-kilogram male lion casually resting on a tree branch that seems impossibly small to support his weight challenges. Everything we think we know about these apex predators? The sight is so surreal that many visitors initially assume the lions have been placed there artificially. But these cats are natural climbers, using their powerful claws and remarkable balance to navigate branches with the grace of much smaller felines. The park's landscape diversity is staggering. The northern sector encompasses vast savanna plains where massive herds of Uganda kob, over 20,000 individuals, create one of Africa's greatest wildlife spectacles. These antelope gather in traditional mating grounds called leks, where dominant males establish territories and compete for the right to mate in displays of speed, strength, and endurance that can last for hours. The Kazinga Channel, a 32-kilometer natural waterway connecting Lake Edward and Lake George, supports one of Africa's highest concentrations of hippos and crocodiles. Boat safaris along this channel reveal a world where the boundary between water and land becomes meaningless. Elephants wade chest-deep into the channel to feed on aquatic vegetation, while buffalo herds numbering in the hundreds come to drink at traditional watering points that have been used for millennia. The channel's bird life is extraordinary, with over 600 species recorded in the park, more than the entire European continent. Pink-backed pelicans nest in colonies of thousands, creating islands of white and pink that can be seen from kilometers away. African fish eagles, with their distinctive calls echoing across the water, patrol the channel from perches on dead trees that emerge from the water like ancient sentinels. But perhaps the park's most remarkable feature is the Kimbura Gorge, a 100-meter deep chasm carved by a small river that creates a tropical rainforest microclimate in the middle of the savanna. This underground forest harbors a population of chimpanzees that have become isolated from other chimp communities, creating a unique evolutionary laboratory where these intelligent primates are developing distinct behaviors and possibly even genetic differences. The contrast is startling. One moment you're standing on open savanna under the blazing equatorial sun, and the next you're descending into a cool, humid forest, where the canopy blocks out most of the light and the air is filled with the calls of primates and forest birds. The chimpanzees in Kimbura have learned to exploit both environments, venturing onto the savanna to raid crops and returning to the forest for safety and traditional food sources. Recent research has revealed that Queen Elizabeth National Park serves as a crucial corridor for wildlife movement between the forests of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the savannas of East Africa. Satellite tracking of elephants has shown that some individuals travel over 500 kilometers between the park and other protected areas, following ancient migration routes that predate human settlement in the region. Nestled in the southwestern highlands of Uganda, at an altitude of 1,962 meters, Lake Bunyonyi stretches across 61 square kilometers of pristine mountain landscape. Its 29 islands scattered like emeralds across waters so clear you can see the bottom at depths of 10 meters. This is Uganda's deepest lake, plunging to depths of over 900 meters. Deeper than any other lake in Africa, and among the deepest in the world. The lake's name, Bunyonyi, means place of many little birds in the local Rukiga language, and it lives up to this designation spectacularly. Over 200 bird species inhabit the lake and its surrounding hills, including several endemic species found nowhere else on Earth. The gray-crowned crane, Uganda's national bird, performs elaborate courtship dances on the lake's shores, while African fish eagles patrol the waters with calls that echo off the surrounding hills. What makes Lake Bunyonyi truly extraordinary is its unique ecosystem. Unlike most African lakes, Bunyonyi is completely free of hippos, crocodiles, and bilharzia, making it one of the few large African water bodies where swimming is completely safe. The lake's high altitude and unique chemistry create conditions that are inhospitable to these typically ubiquitous African aquatic species, but perfect for a diverse array of fish species that have evolved in isolation. The lake's 29 islands each tell their own story. Alpine Island, known as Punishment Island, served as a place of exile for unmarried pregnant girls in traditional Bakiga society. Today, it's a poignant reminder of changing social customs and the complex history of the region. Bwama Island houses a leprosy treatment center established by Dr. Leonard Sharp in the 1930s, which became a model for community-based healthcare in rural Africa. The terraced hillsides surrounding Lake Bunyonyi create one of Africa's most spectacular agricultural landscapes. These terraces, carved into slopes so steep they seem impossible to farm, represent thousands of years of agricultural innovation by the Bakiga people. The terracing system prevents soil erosion while maximizing agricultural productivity in mountainous terrain, creating a patchwork of green fields that cascade down to the lake's edge like a giant staircase. The lake's depth creates unique thermal properties that moderate the local climate. While the surrounding highlands can experience significant temperature variations, the lake's massive volume of water acts as a thermal buffer, creating a microclimate that remains relatively stable year-round. This stability has allowed unique plant communities to develop along the shoreline, including several species of orchids and other flowering plants found nowhere else in Uganda. Recent bathymetric surveys have revealed that Lake Bunyonyi's deepest points may exceed 900 meters, making it potentially the second deepest lake in Africa after Lake Tanganyika. The lake's great depth, combined with its high altitude and unique chemistry, creates stratified water layers with different temperatures and oxygen levels, supporting distinct communities of aquatic life at different depths. The cultural significance of Lake Bunyonyi extends far beyond its natural beauty. The Bakiga people have lived around the lake for over 2,000 years, developing sophisticated systems of agriculture, fishing, and resource management that have maintained the lake's pristine condition. Traditional dugout canoes, carved from single trees and designed specifically for the lake's conditions, remain the primary means of transportation between islands. On the slopes of Mount Elgon, where Uganda meets Kenya in a landscape of volcanic soils and ancient calderas, the Sipi River performs a spectacular three-act drama as it cascades down a series of cliffs in 3 distinct waterfalls that collectively create one of East Africa's most breathtaking natural spectacles. Sipi Falls isn't just a single waterfall. It's a complex system where each tier offers its own unique character and viewing experience. The main fall, plunging 100 meters over a sheer cliff face, creates a thunderous roar that can be heard from kilometers away. The water originating from the springs and streams of Mount Elgon's upper slopes carries mineral-rich sediments that have stained the cliff face in brilliant oranges and reds, creating a natural canvas that changes color throughout the day as the light shifts. During the dry season, the falls become a delicate veil of mist, while the rainy season transforms them into a raging torrent that sends spray hundreds of meters into the air. The second tier, 75 meters high, offers perhaps the most dramatic viewing experience. A narrow trail leads behind the waterfall, allowing visitors to stand in a natural cave carved by thousands of years of water erosion. From this vantage point, you can watch the water plunge past the cave entrance while feeling the mist on your face and hearing the deafening roar amplified by the rock chamber. The experience is both exhilarating and humbling, demonstrating the incredible power of water to reshape solid rock over geological time. The third and lowest fall at 85 meters creates a series of pools perfect for swimming. If you can handle the shock of mountain-cold water at equatorial latitudes, these pools, carved into solid rock by millennia of water action, are so clear you can see every detail of the rocky bottom even at depths of several meters. The surrounding vegetation creates a natural amphitheater where butterflies dance in the mist and birds call from hidden perches in the cliffside vegetation. Mount Elgon itself, an extinct volcano with the world's largest volcanic base, provides the dramatic backdrop for Sipi Falls. This ancient mountain, once taller than Kilimanjaro before its summit, collapsed to form a massive caldera, creates its own weather systems that ensure year-round water flow for the falls. The mountain slopes harbor unique ecosystems, including bamboo forests, where elephants have carved extensive cave systems while mining salt from the volcanic soils. The area around Sipi Falls has become renowned for producing some of the world's finest Arabica coffee. The volcanic soils, high altitude, and consistent rainfall create perfect conditions for coffee cultivation, and the local Bagisu people have developed sophisticated farming techniques that work in harmony with the natural ecosystem. Coffee tours around Sipi Falls offer visitors the chance to participate in every step of the coffee production process, from picking the ripe cherries to roasting the beans over traditional fires. The cultural significance of Sipi Falls extends deep into Bagisu tradition. The falls are considered sacred sites where traditional ceremonies are still performed, and the surrounding forests are protected by customary law that has preserved them for generations. The Bagisu circumcision ceremonies, held every even year, include rituals performed near the falls, connecting the community's coming-of-age traditions with the natural power of the cascading water. Recent geological studies have revealed that the Sipi Falls system is slowly evolving as the river continues to carve its way through the volcanic rock. Over thousands of years, the falls have migrated upstream, leaving behind a series of gorges and pools that tell the story of the river's relentless work. This ongoing geological process means that the falls we see today are different from those seen by previous generations and will continue to change for future visitors. At Jinja, where the waters of Lake Victoria begin their epic 6,650-kilometer journey to the Mediterranean Sea, stands one of geography's most legendary landmarks, the source of the Nile. This isn't just a tourist attraction. It's the beginning of humanity's most storied river, the lifeline that gave birth to ancient Egyptian civilization and continues to sustain over 400 million people across 11 countries. The source itself is both humble and magnificent. The Nile doesn't burst forth from the earth in a dramatic spring, but rather begins as Lake Victoria's waters flow over a series of rocky outcrops and through papyrus-lined channels. Yet standing at this spot, watching the clear waters begin their incredible journey, carries an emotional weight that few geographical locations can match. This water will flow past the pyramids of Egypt, through the deserts of Sudan, and eventually reach the Mediterranean, connecting Uganda to the ancient world in the most literal way possible. Lake Victoria, the source of the Nile and Africa's largest lake, is itself a geographical marvel, covering 68,800 square kilometers, larger than Ireland. This lake is so vast, it creates its own weather systems and supports over 30 million people around its shores. The lake contains approximately 2,750 cubic kilometers of water, making it the world's second largest freshwater lake by surface area and a crucial water resource for East Africa. The biodiversity of Lake Victoria is extraordinary, though tragically diminished from historical levels. The lake once harbored over 500 species of cichlid fish, most found nowhere else on Earth. These fish had evolved into an incredible array of forms. Some specialized for eating algae, others for crushing snails, still others for hunting other fish. This represented one of evolution's most spectacular examples of adaptive radiation, where a single ancestral species diversified into hundreds of specialized forms in just a few thousand years. The Nile's journey from its source reveals the incredible power of flowing water to shape landscapes. Just downstream from Jinja, the river encounters its first major obstacle at Bunyonyi Falls, where the water cascades over a series of granite outcrops in a display of raw power that has carved deep channels through solid rock. The sound of rushing water and the mist rising from the falls create a microclimate that supports unique plant communities found nowhere else in the region. Modern development has transformed the source of the Nile region into Uganda's adventure capital. The powerful rapids downstream from the source have created some of the world's most challenging whitewater rafting, with Grade 5 rapids that test even experienced rafters. The Nile's flow, regulated by the Owen Falls Dam, provides consistent water levels that make these rapids accessible year-round, attracting adventure seekers from around the globe. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the source of the Nile is its historical significance. For thousands of years, the source of the Nile was one of geography's greatest mysteries. Ancient Greek and Roman explorers attempted to find it. Medieval Arab geographers speculated about its location, and Victorian explorers like John Hanning Speke and Richard Burton risked their lives in the quest to solve this geographical puzzle. Standing at the source today, it's humbling to realize that this simple spot was once considered one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. Recent hydrological studies have revealed that the Nile's flow patterns are far more complex than previously understood. Climate change and human activities around Lake Victoria are altering the lake's water levels and the river's flow patterns, with potential consequences for the hundreds of millions of people who depend on the Nile downstream. The source region has become a crucial monitoring point for understanding how environmental changes in East Africa might affect water security across the entire Nile basin. In Uganda's remote northeastern corner, where the country borders South Sudan and Kenya in a landscape of endless horizons and dramatic mountain ranges, lies Kidepo Valley National Park, a 1,442 square kilometer wilderness so isolated and pristine that it feels like stepping back in time to an Africa that existed before human influence transformed the continent. Kidepo is Uganda's most remote national park, accessible only by charter flight or a challenging 2-day drive through some of East Africa's most rugged terrain. This isolation has preserved ecosystems and wildlife populations that have disappeared from more accessible areas, creating a park that offers wildlife viewing experiences impossible to find elsewhere in Uganda. The park's landscape is dominated by the Narus and Kidepo valleys, separated by mountain ranges that rise to over 2,750 meters. During the dry season, these valleys become vast golden grasslands stretching to distant horizons, broken only by scattered acacia trees and seasonal rivers marked by ribbons of green vegetation. The scale is overwhelming. Standing on one of the park's elevated viewpoints, you can see for over 100 kilometers in every direction with nothing but wilderness as far as the eye can reach. Kidepo harbors wildlife species found nowhere else in Uganda. The park is home to over 80 mammal species, including several that reach the southern limit of their range here, cheetahs. Absent from all other Ugandan parks, hunt across Kidepo's open plains in pursuit of gazelles and other antelope species. These cats, capable of reaching speeds of 120 kilometers per hour, represent the ultimate adaptation to open grassland hunting, and watching them in action across Kidepo's vast plains is one of Africa's most spectacular wildlife experiences. The park's elephant population, numbering over 650 individuals, includes some of East Africa's largest tuskers. These elephants have learned to survive in Kidepo's harsh environment by following ancient migration routes to seasonal water sources and by utilizing their incredible memory to locate food and water during the challenging dry season. During drought years, elephant families will travel over 50 kilometers to reach permanent water sources, following paths that have been used for thousands of years. Kidepo's bird life is extraordinary, with over 475 species recorded, more than any other Ugandan national park. The park serves as a meeting point for East African savanna species and Sahel species from the north, creating a unique avian community. The Karamoja apallus, found only in this region, builds its nest in the thorny acacia trees that dot the landscape's secretary birds. With their distinctive crest of feathers and terrestrial hunting style, stalk through the grasslands in search of snakes and small mammals. The cultural dimension of Kidepo adds another layer of fascination to this remote wilderness. The park is surrounded by the traditional territory of the Karamojong people, pastoralists who have lived in harmony with the wildlife for thousands of years. Their traditional lifestyle, centered around cattle herding and seasonal migration patterns, has shaped the landscape and wildlife behavior in ways that scientists are still working to understand. The Karamojong's traditional knowledge of wildlife behavior and seasonal patterns has proven invaluable for park management. Their understanding of animal migration routes, water source locations, and seasonal vegetation changes provides insights that complement modern scientific research. Some Karamojong communities have become involved in park management and tourism, serving as guides and cultural interpreters for the few visitors who make the journey to this remote wilderness. Recent wildlife surveys have revealed that Kidepo serves as a crucial corridor for wildlife movement between Uganda, South Sudan, and Kenya satellite. Tracking of elephants has shown that some individuals travel over 200 kilometers between Kidepo and protected areas in neighboring countries, following migration routes that predate international borders. This transboundary movement highlights the importance of regional cooperation in wildlife conservation and the need to think beyond national boundaries when protecting large-scale ecosystems. Scattered across the northwestern waters of Lake Victoria like emeralds on blue silk, the Ssese Islands comprise 84 islands that create Uganda's most unexpected tropical paradise. These islands, ranging from tiny uninhabited rocks to substantial land masses supporting thriving communities, offer a completely different side of Uganda. One of pristine beaches, crystal clear waters, and a laid-back island lifestyle that seems worlds away from the country's mountain and forest adventures. Bugala Island, the largest of the Ssese Islands at 290 square kilometers, showcases the archipelago's incredible diversity. The island's interior is covered in dense tropical forest that harbors over 200 bird species, including several endemic subspecies that have evolved in isolation from mainland populations. Vervet monkeys crash through the canopy while hornbills call from hidden perches, creating a soundtrack that blends forest sounds with the gentle lapping of lake waves on nearby shores. The beaches of the Ssese Islands rival any tropical destination in the world. Lutoboka Bay on Bugala Island features 3 kilometers of pristine white sand beach, backed by palm trees and tropical vegetation. The water is so clear you can see the sandy bottom at depths of 10 meters, and the absence of dangerous wildlife makes swimming completely safe, a rarity for African water bodies. The beaches face west across Lake Victoria, creating spectacular sunsets that paint the sky in brilliant oranges and reds reflected in the calm lake waters. What makes the Ssese Islands truly special is their unique ecosystem. These islands represent the only place in Uganda where you can experience a truly tropical island environment, complete with palm-fringed beaches, coral-like rock formations, and crystal-clear waters. The island's isolation has allowed unique plant and animal communities to develop, including several species of butterflies and birds found nowhere else in Uganda. The cultural heritage of the Ssese Islands adds depth to their natural beauty. The islands have been inhabited for over 500 years by the Ssese people, who developed a sophisticated fishing and agricultural culture adapted to island life. Traditional fishing methods using papyrus boats and hand-woven nets are still practiced, while the island's fertile volcanic soils support crops ranging from bananas and coffee to exotic fruits like passion fruit and jackfruit. Fishing remains central to island life, with Lake Victoria providing some of Africa's most productive freshwater fisheries. The lake's waters teem with tilapia, Nile perch, and other species that support both subsistence fishing and commercial operations. Night fishing expeditions offer visitors the chance to experience traditional fishing methods while enjoying the spectacular sight of the Milky Way reflected in the lake's calm waters. Light pollution is virtually non-existent on the islands, creating some of East Africa's best stargazing opportunities. The island's transportation system adds to their charm. Inter-island travel relies on traditional wooden boats and modern ferries that connect the larger islands to the mainland. The main ferry from Entebbe to Bagala Island is an adventure in itself, carrying everything from vehicles and livestock to passengers and cargo across the sometimes choppy waters of Lake Victoria. The journey offers spectacular views of the lake's vastness and the opportunity to spot some of the over 200 fish species that inhabit these waters. Recent ecological studies have revealed that the Ssese Islands serve as crucial breeding grounds for several fish species and as stopover points for migratory birds traveling between East and Central Africa. The island's relatively undisturbed shorelines provide nesting sites for water birds, while the surrounding waters serve as nurseries for juvenile fish that eventually populate fishing grounds across Lake Victoria. As our extraordinary journey through Uganda draws to a close, we're left with a profound realization that challenges everything we thought we knew about Africa and what a single country can contain. Uganda isn't just a destination. It's a masterclass in biodiversity, a showcase of geological wonders, and a testament to the incredible variety our planet can pack into a relatively small space. From the snow-capped peaks of the Rwenzori Mountains to the tropical beaches of the Ssese Islands, from ancient forests where mountain gorillas live in societies as complex as our own, to the source of the world's most legendary river, Uganda has revealed itself as a country that defies every stereotype and exceeds every expectation. In a space smaller than the United Kingdom, we've encountered ecosystems that span from alpine tundra to tropical rainforest, from vast savannas to pristine lakes, each harboring species and experiences found nowhere else on Earth. But perhaps what's most remarkable about Uganda is how it demonstrates the interconnectedness of natural systems. The glaciers of the Rwenzori Mountains feed the rivers that sustain the forests where mountain gorillas live. The forests regulate the climate that maintains the lakes where millions of birds stop during their continental migrations. The volcanic soils that create perfect conditions for coffee cultivation also support the diverse plant communities that feed the world's highest concentration of primates. Every ecosystem we've explored is connected to every other, creating a web of relationships that spans the entire country. Uganda's wildlife stories remind us that we share this planet with creatures of extraordinary intelligence and complexity. Looking into the eyes of a mountain gorilla, watching chimpanzees use tools and teach their young, or observing the intricate social dynamics of elephant families, we're confronted with the reality that human intelligence and emotion are not unique. They're part of a continuum of consciousness that extends throughout the animal kingdom. These encounters don't just provide thrilling wildlife viewing, they fundamentally change how we see our place in the natural world. The country's geological wonders tell stories that span millions of years, reminding us that the landscapes we see today are temporary snapshots in an ongoing process of planetary change. The Rift Valley continues to tear East Africa apart. The Rwenzori glaciers are retreating as climate patterns shift, and the Nile continues to carve new channels through ancient rock. Uganda exists at the intersection of these massive forces, creating a landscape that is both ancient and constantly changing. In our modern world of urban environments and digital experiences, Uganda offers something increasingly rare: the opportunity to witness natural processes that have remained unchanged for millions of years. The morning calls of chimpanzees in Kabale Forest are the same sounds that echoed through these trees when our earliest human ancestors first walked upright. The migration patterns of elephants in Queen Elizabeth National Park follow routes established long before human civilization began. The source of the Nile has been flowing for thousands of years, connecting Uganda to the ancient world in ways that transcend time and culture. Uganda's conservation successes also provide hope for our planet's future. The recovery of mountain gorilla populations from near extinction to stable, growing communities demonstrates that dedicated conservation efforts can succeed even in challenging circumstances. The transformation of former poachers into passionate wildlife protectors shows that conservation works best when local communities are partners rather than obstacles. The integration of traditional knowledge with modern science in places like Kidepo Valley National Park proves that indigenous wisdom and contemporary research can work together to protect natural heritage. But Uganda's greatest lesson may be about the importance of preserving wilderness for its own sake, not just for human benefit. Standing in the mist-shrouded forests of Bwindi, watching the sunrise from the peaks of the Rwenzori Mountains, or listening to the thunderous roar of Murchison Falls, we're reminded that some experiences can't be quantified or commodified. They can only be felt, and they change us in ways that last long after we've returned home. The country also challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about Africa and developing nations. Uganda's sophisticated conservation programs, its integration of traditional and modern knowledge systems, and its success in protecting some of the world's most endangered species while supporting local communities demonstrate that conservation leadership can come from anywhere. The country's commitment to preserving its natural heritage while developing sustainable tourism shows that economic development and environmental protection don't have to be opposing forces. As climate change and human development pressure natural systems worldwide, Uganda's example becomes increasingly important. The country has shown that it's possible to protect extraordinary biodiversity while providing economic opportunities for local communities. The success of community-based conservation programs around Bwindi Impenetrable Forest and the integration of traditional Karamojong knowledge in Kidepo Valley management provide models that could be applied in conservation challenges. Worldwide, Uganda's hidden wonders remind us that our planet still holds secrets waiting to be discovered. Every year brings new species discoveries in the country's forests, new insights into animal behavior and intelligence, and new understanding of how ecosystems function and interconnect. The country serves as a living laboratory where scientists continue to make discoveries that reshape our understanding of evolution, ecology, and animal behavior. Perhaps most importantly, Uganda demonstrates that wonder and awe are not luxuries. They're necessities for the human spirit. In a world increasingly dominated by artificial environments and virtual experiences, the opportunity to stand face to face with a mountain gorilla, to witness the raw power of the Nile exploding through solid rock, or to watch the sunrise paint the Rwenzori glaciers in shades of gold and pink provides a connection to something larger than ourselves that no technology can replicate. The Pearl of Africa continues to shine, not just as a destination for adventurous travelers, but as a beacon of hope for conservation, a showcase of natural wonder, and a reminder that our planet still holds mysteries and marvels that can leave us speechless with awe. Uganda's greatest gift to the world may not be its mountain gorillas or its spectacular landscapes, but its demonstration that humans and nature can coexist, that conservation can succeed, and that wonder is still possible in our modern world. The call of Uganda's wild places echoes across continents, inviting a new generation of travelers, conservationists, and dreamers to experience landscapes and wildlife encounters that will change them forever. The question isn't whether Uganda deserves a place on every adventurer's bucket list. It's whether we're ready to answer the call of one of Earth's last great wildernesses and allow ourselves to be transformed by encounters with the extraordinary Uganda is waiting. The gorillas are calling, the mountains are beckoning. The adventure of a lifetime is just a journey away.